Hello, everyone, and welcome to live session number 7 out of 21. That's a whole week of live sessions done. For those that aren't following, who have no idea what I'm talking about, every day for 21 days, I'm doing lives covering all things to do with burnout, stress, overwhelm, and today, self-care. So welcome to those joining, welcome to those watching back. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that is really close to my heart, that I'm really passionate about, and that's finding the time for self-care. So how do we fit self-care into our already busy lives when we're already stressed, we're already overwhelmed, and now you're telling me to do something else? Now you're telling me to add something else to my day. So that's what we're going to be talking about. I've got lots of ideas, but I'd love this to be interactive. So whether you're watching live or you're watching it back, please do share your ideas in the comments. This would be amazing to have like this huge collection of your ideas, my ideas, everyone's ideas together. So any ideas that you can think of for self-care when you're short on time, please do share them with the rest of the community. And I'm going to start with a little bit about why we don't have the time, and then we'll go into what we can do. So why don't we have the time for self-care? For a lot of people, it's because of work. It's because of responsibilities. And no matter who says it, we don't all have the same 24 hours in a day, right? Like, we just don't. There are so many things that can take our time and take our attention. And that might be work, it might be responsibilities, but there might also be other things. It might be that you're living with a chronic illness, right? And that takes up so much of your time and energy just to manage that. It might be that you have other people that you care for in your life. So there are lots of reasons why we might not have the time for self-care. And I want to go through a couple of others that aren't just your obvious, there's too much work, there's too much responsibility going on in my life, because I think that these are important ones to think about as well. So I've already kind of touched on this when I've spoken about caring for other people, but a lot of us don't have the time because we give so much to other people. Now, if you are someone who has been burnt out, if you are someone who is, hands up, like me, a chronic people pleaser, then we can give so much to other people, right? People are like, oh, you're the best person to talk to whenever I've got a problem, or you really help me out, or whatever else. And then when it comes to ourselves, we perhaps think, well, I don't deserve the same care and attention that I give to other people. So that might be a reason why we don't have time for self-care, is because we feel as though we don't deserve that time for self-care and that other people are more deserving of it than us. Another reason is that we might already be so stressed and overwhelmed that thinking about doing anything else is just unbearable, right? It's like, it's another thing on the to-do list. Doing a bit of self-care is just something else on my to-do list when I've already got too much to do. And so it gets pushed to the back. And we'll talk a little bit about what we can do about that later on as well. And I think probably the main reason, going back to giving so much to other people, is where we put ourselves on our priority list. So do we feel as though we deserve that? And if not, why not? Why don't we deserve that same kind of self-care? So what can we do about it? With all of these things that are vying for our time, vying for our attention, work, responsibilities, ourselves saying, I don't deserve it, someone else is more deserving, or I'm already overwhelmed, I don't know where to start. What can we do when we don't have the time for self-care, or we feel as though we don't have the time for self-care? So there's a few things, and these are more broad. So like I said at the beginning, if you have any specific things that you do when you're really short on time, please do share them in the comments. Hi, Helen, don't apologize, it's okay. Please do share them in the comments. Let's create a really lovely collection of self-care ideas for people that are short on time. And hopefully from these kind of broader ideas as well, it will give you lots of ideas to think about. So the first thing that I want to talk about is adding, not taking away. Because sometimes when I say to people, oh, get some more self-care into your life, how are you going to do that? They'll say, oh, well, I'm going to stop eating carbs, or I'm going to take my phone away before bed. And these are all, fine things for people. If you want to do that, if taking your phone away before bed is great, but it feels like punishment, right? And self-care really should be about nourishment. So when you're thinking about little things that you can add into your daily life, think nourishment, not punishment. Because if your idea of self-care is taking things away, then it's not going to be enjoyable if you're already struggling to fit that into your life. And you're going to go, well, what's the point? I'm not going to bother. So these things have to feel enjoyable. And that might also be doing something that you don't like doing, right? So that might also be seen as a punishment. If you say, oh, well, self-care is, I'm going to go to the gym, even though I don't really like the gym, right? That feels like punishment. That doesn't feel like self-care. So think about all the things that you love that really nourish you, whether it's having 5 or 10 minutes for a warm cup of tea and a slice of cake, right? That's called fika in Nordic countries, and it's a really, really beautiful type of self-care. It's just adding a little bit into your day without taking away. So the first thing to think about is always, always, always nourishment over punishment. The second thing to think about is, well, I don't have a lot of time in my day, so how about I add something on top of something I already do? So combining self-care with things that you already do, or habit stacking, if you've read James Clear's Atomic Habits, this is a great way to turn it into a habit. But also when you're really, really short on time, it's combining two things. So you might have heard of people that do like star jumps when they're brushing their teeth, or listening to a meditation or a mindful moment when you're in the shower. It might be my personal favorite, and anyone that's part of the Anti-Burnout Club knows that we love a kitchen disco. So whenever you're cooking, whenever you're washing up, putting on one song and dancing for the duration of it, getting some movement in, right? So what can I combine with the chores or the responsibilities that I have to do with something that will make me feel good as well? So really think, yeah, Helen, habit stacking, it's great. It's just the perfect way if you really, really, really are short on time to just get in a little bit. And the next one, I guess, that kind of follows on from that is called micro moments. So tiny little bits of self-care. Instead of thinking, oh my goodness, I need to have a half-hour bath or an hour-long yoga class or whatever else, that's just not possible for a lot of people that don't have that spare half an hour, that spare hour. So thinking about little micro moments of self-care, that could be a tiny, tiny little mindful moment like the one I recorded for you guys yesterday. It might be getting in some kind of movement like a kitchen disco. It could be combining those things. And I spoke about it in one of the sessions before, is the Pomodoro method. So where you do 25 minutes of something like a chore or work, and then 5 minutes of self-care. So if you're like, oh, I don't even know when to fit these in, using the Pomodoro method to actually get in those little bits, those little tiny micro moments of self-care. The next thing, and this is something that we spoke about the other day, if you did the Wheel of Life exercise with me, is to pick just one area of your life that you would like to do some kind of self-care in. So sometimes I think we see self-care as this massive ordeal where I have to make sure that every aspect of my life is going well. Everything has to be balanced. I need to, wake up, do meditation, do some yoga, and all of these things, when actually it's just about picking little things that nourish us, that make us feel good. So if you do the Wheel of Life exercise, think about, and I'll link it after this as well, but think about those different areas of your life and which one needs a little bit of TLC, and then pick self-care activities that will work with that. So for example, if you're really struggling with the basics, which is getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, eating food that makes you feel good, then focusing on that. What little self-care activity could I do before bed, for example, that will help me get some sleep? And remembering to think about nourishment, not punishment. What could I add into my diet that will make me feel more nourished? What can I do to make sure that I'm drinking enough water? So if the basics is something that you're lacking in, that you feel needs a little bit of TLC, think about things that will work with that. And that works for any of the aspects of the wheel of life. So go through those and say, well, actually, this is the one area that I need to work on, instead of making it this big, overwhelming to-do list that I've got to change every aspect of my life to start feeling better and I don't have the time. Just picking one little area and saying, how can I nourish this part of my life as opposed to punish this part of my life? And then the last thing, really, and this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, is sometimes it's just remembering that you do deserve this time, right? And it doesn't need to be half hour, an hour, 2 hours, a weekend retreat. However much I know that we would all love to have that time, the reality is that most of us don't, right? So saying I deserve that 5 minutes, I deserve that 10 minute of a cup of tea and a slice of cake, I deserve that time, is really, really important, because sometimes that's what it takes to make that a habit and to make integrating self-care into your life a little bit easier. So I'm going to read through some of the comments now. I can see that you've been sharing self-care ideas. So have a cup of tea or coffee outside. Oh my goodness, spending time outside is just perfect. Balance on one leg when brushing my teeth or doing the dishes, alternate legs. So you've got your balance. Also, this is there's another really good one when you're brushing your teeth, is to use your non-dominant hand, because your brain really has to think about it, and it's really good for being more present. So it's used as a mindfulness exercise. But if you brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand, you have to be really present, otherwise you end up with toothpaste all over your face. So yes, I love that one, Mandy. Brushing my teeth while talking to the mirror in a positive manner. So many people just stand there and brush their teeth, and it's the perfect time to do something for yourself, right? So could be positive self-talk, could be affirmations, could be balancing on one leg or doing some form of movement. But yeah, brushing your teeth is like the perfect time to fit in self-care. When I'm washing up, I take some deep breaths. Yes, I love this. Breathing, we breathe all the time and we're not really noticing it any of the time. So just being really conscious of your breath can be really, really good for us. Step outside in the morning and breathe. Sometimes it's for 30 seconds, sometimes it's longer. And if you can't get outside for whatever reason, so I used to have agoraphobia, and everyone used to say, oh, go outside and get some fresh air. I can't go outside. Open your window. Breathe. Yes, love it. Perfect. Thank you for sharing all of your ideas. And if you're watching this back, please do continue sharing your ideas in the comments as well. I hope that you found this helpful. This was live session number 7 out of 21. And like I said, I'm doing 21 days in a row of live sessions. So any ideas, anything you'd like to see me cover, please do let me know. And I will see you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.